Okay, there's another video from JMC. Today what we're going to be doing is installing the kit back onto our shop car, which is my car. We might as well go through the whole process and actually show you guys what's involved in installing the kit. Now obviously there's a few different ways you can install the kit, but what we're going to do is show you the way we found the most efficient. First of all, subframe off, okay, and what you'll see up here is you'll have all the subframe off, and if you've got twin turbos on there, whatever you've had on there, obviously all that needs to be cleared off. So we'll start with a bare block on the exhaust side. I tend to leave my steering rack in place. I remove the track rod ends, and then that stays in place. All the fluids stay without having to drain anything, and this is just cable tied in place. Comes off quite easily and goes back in quite easily. That's what we recommend you do. Over here, I've actually taken a couple of steps already. So one is putting back the water pump. Water pumps on the JMC kits are installed with a spacer, and at this point, I might just get myself over here. So at this point, what we've got is the bare block, and one of the things, the first things that you're going to be doing is installing the block off plates. So what we've got is, I'll just zoom in here. So we've got the oil return, the oil feed line, the fitting. So all these fittings are included in the kit. So we've got the oil fitting, and it comes in two parts. That part there is a 1/8 NTP that threads into the oil fitting. I would recommend that's installed with thread sealant, just to make sure you don't have any leaks. Fresh O-rings. We've got a coolant block off at the top and an oil block off, drain oil block off there. Moving across, we have our JMC fitting over here. This fitting is designed by us, and it allows you to install a banjo with the we include all the lines as well. That fitting goes on there, and what we have then is our drain, and I'll just show you how our drain line is installed, our revised drain line installation. So at this point we'd be also installing the water drain line, the pipe, and I'll be doing that in a moment, and you'll see how we route all the lines with the water drain, and we get to that stage where once that drain line is on, we can start installing manifolds. In fact, the installation of the JMC kit is actually easier than twins. It's less fiddly, goes on much quicker. Okay, so what we're going to be doing now is installing oil drain. So I've put the oil drain here, which is the dash 10. That's all bolted up, and what we have is, this is the new oil drain system. What this is doing is basically sending a fitting to the front, and then you can just have a shorter line going up to your turbo. So it's all still dash 10. So this, the way we install it is you route it through to the front, just on top of the water pump. Okay. Once you've got it into the right relative position, I'll try and not block the camera here, but anyway, we'll just carefully thread it. But be careful with these threads. Obviously they're aluminium, and take it nice and slow. Make sure that you're happy that those threads have gone on. Nice. So there we go. Now you can position this sort of where you want it, and then you're going to cinch it down. And because the oil drain pipe is covered completely with silicone, number one, that's impossible for it to drain out, and second of all, sorry, to leak past that. And second of all, it's not going to rattle around against metal on metal. So that's it, and I'll show you the fitting at this side. I'll just grab the camera. This is the fitting, so it's presented to you right there, and then from here you can route upwards. So what we'll do now is we'll start installing the lines, so the oil line, the water line, the water pump, the water pipe. Alright, so the next bit is we're going to start installing some lines, and let me just, what we've got here is we've got an AN6 line, and both ends are straight, so we've got straight ends on both sides, okay, and that's going to actually go onto this fitting here, okay. So I'll get this installed, and that line will go forwards and upwards, and we'll worry about the lines later on, but that one goes on next, and then after this one we'll go to the water pipe. The water pipe, I've chased the tap through these, so just to clean up the holes, and cleaned the surface with 2000 grit sandpaper, bit of brake cleaner. That's completely flat and perfectly finished now, so there'll be no leaks from there. Okay, right, so we've got the fitting in place here. I haven't tightened it down just yet, but you want to put a spanner on here and tighten this up, making sure you're not spinning that that fitting. Anyway, you want to get it nice and snug. These are aluminium, so you don't want to yank on it like crazy. I don't have Newton meters, but you know, you'll feel it. It will tighten down, and then it's a nice tight snug fit. So that line goes forwards and up, and that's all you need to do. And the next line that we're putting in now is we're going to put the oil drain on with its fitting. So I've got it over here. So this is the oil drain, as we showed you before. So the oil drain, now we've got the dash 10 45 degree fitting on, and we've got a 90 degree at the other end. And so what that's going to allow us to do is move the oil drain towards the front. Now when you tighten this down, you won't have much of an opportunity to move it around. So the way I've found that you need to do it is, if you're looking at it, so that's the side that goes on the engine, okay, so you're looking at it down there, it dashes off from a 45 degree angle from that there, so it's more or less 45 degrees, and then put this in a vise, and then get a 1 inch key on there, and nip it down quite fairly well, but don't go crazy on it. Like I said, it's aluminium. So I'll install this and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so if you've already got your water pump on and you're trying to put the oil drain on, what I'd suggest is just remove this barbed fitting, just yank it out, and this has got the reason why it's still sort of got this bend in it is because it's actually got a solid core. It's got a piece of metal that goes all the way up to here. So basically you want to fish it from the front. Unless you've got this removed, then it's just simply you lay it down and you can put it straight on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push this in, screw that fitting down, tighten this fitting, okay. And I don't know if I can show you the routing, but the pipes go forwards, okay, and route round, and you'll find the path of least resistance. You know, the path is obvious, but it will route round. So that's going to the outside near the fender well side of the turbo for the coolant, and this is your oil drain. The oil drain is going to be approximately about here, okay. so it's well away from all the heat. So I'll get on with that. We'll move on to the next step. Okay, next is our water pipe. So what you need to do is we supply you this water pipe with the O-ring, the -6 line that we supply. So the 90 goes on to the pipe here. This one is for a transcooler. Now, if you're a manual, obviously you're not going to have a transcooler. So what you're going to do is just block that off with a -10 block off fitting, which you can find in your local market. But so what we've got here is, this is our line, and at the other end it's a 45, and that end will supply coolant to the turbo. So that's the supply, and that's going to go near the engine block with a banjo. So we're going to stick a banjo on the end of that and get it ready for installation in the car. So this will go up here. Okay, we're going to just put that on, and we're going to just route the line forwards just like the other lines. So from the top, you see the pretty much most of the lines are all coming out from this point here. The one with the 45, like I said, will be about here on the engine side, and it banjos in, and then you've got the straight end which is on the other side. So this side, which is coming off the water pipe, will be your water supply, and this one will be your water drain. Now, it doesn't really matter which way round you put them. It just matters that this one's coming from the water pipe that's supplied, because that's where the high pressure is, and this one goes on the other end to the block on the low pressure. The oil feed is here, so we've got all the lines pretty much in situ. All we need now is to route the oil feed line, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so this is the oil line. I'm doing my best to get you a good video here. Sorry about the focus. So basically, before you put the water pipe on, I've got the water pipe here. I've got the hose routed up to the front and everything like that, but I've just got it loose. Haven't got it connected just yet. And what we want is, we want the oil line to tuck behind this. Let me just put my light up, sorry. So we want the oil line to tuck down just over this engine support round. Nip it up nice and tight. Okay, and next we're going to put the water pipe in place, and I'll show you that next. And everything should be tight but not squashed, and I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, so we've got the oil line plumbed in, and it's running just along this edge. Don't forget, here we're going to have a wastegate in about in this position here, so we don't want this protruding. You don't want this coming out here. You want it tucked in under that pipe, yeah. And it goes, let's see if I can shine a light there, and it goes on the, as we're looking at it right now, it's to the left of the oil drain. So the oil feed and the oil drain sort of go side by side on top of the water pump, and they go underneath this water pipe. So now, as you can see, we've got my transcooler. Can't get my words out at all today. My transcooler is hooked up. Now that there's in the instructions, there's instructions how to cut that and cut the OEM hose and hook it up to the -10 barb fitting. But that's all in the instructions anyway, so I won't actually show you how to do that. Mine's already cut anyway, so I can't actually video me cutting it and things like that. So this is a reinstallation of the kit after we've built the big power kits. So the -6 again is going straight to the front, so they're all going towards the front, all in more or less the same direction. And I'll show you from the top how that looks with the oil line and everything like that. So from the top, I'll do my best with the camera skills here. So we have our coolant lines. That goes sort of underneath your radiator hose. You got your oil drain. Okay. The thing is, with these heat shields, which are extremely good, they're very sticky. They're very grippy together, so it's hard to get to route them. But be patient, and it'll get it done. The oil line, okay, comes. Let me see if I can show you here. It's just down there. There's the oil line. Let me see if I can get a bit of light down there. Yeah, so that's the oil line, and it's routing straight to the right hand side of the car. So that way, because we want the maximum length, so we can come on this side of the turbo. Because what we want a clean engine bay, so we don't want lines all coming across here up the top. Okay, so I've got, at this point here, we've got pretty much everything buttoned up in terms of oil and water. So what we've got is our, like we said, our coolant pipe, our oil lines. Our oil lines, as you can see, they run side by side through down here, underneath the water pipe. Your wires, make sure they're, put some cable ties, nip them together. We can see, if you can see here, maybe I'll get my hand through here. This is the oil feed, and the oil feed. Can I see if I can get? See if I can get some light in there, so you can see where the oil feed is routed. So underneath, if you're an auto, underneath that, up to the top. The other stuff, as you can see, the -6 lines, they go forward together, and they swoop upwards up there. So basically, at this point, you've got a lot of the stuff ready for the manifolds. So the next stage now is we're going to install the front manifold, and the front manifold, what you'll have to do is you'll have to start these three as you slide the manifold on. You have to focus on these three. You can loosely put the other ones on, but these three need to go on very slowly. Bit of patience for these, and the rest of them are quite easy. Okay, so we've put the front manifold on, and you can see those the two corner screws, two corner copper nuts go on. The manifold's loose, and you need it loose because of the length of the nuts, and then you just need to cinch them down. Obviously it's a slow process. If I can do this by looking through the camera lens, you're gonna take your time, and this one as well, from here. Gonna bring those almost tight. I've got brand new gaskets on this manifold. These are the gaskets that we're using are. So these are the gaskets. As you can see, if I can raise the camera right there. As you can see, there's not much of a taper there. They're pretty square. So what that means is, as you're going to be tightening the manifold onto the cylinder head, they need to deform, and you're going to need to go around all the bolts, all the copper nuts, and keep tightening them, and they'll, as you go round, when you go back to the beginning, there'll be a sort of a little just a bit more of a turn on all of them. So going round once or twice. It's not about going round once or twice. It's about going round until the nuts aren't turning anymore. That means the manifold, the face of the manifold, is seated onto the cylinder head. Let me quickly show you the other manifold, and I'll tell you what I mean. Sorry, my video production isn't all polished like other YouTubers. I'm not necessarily a YouTuber, so I'll just explain a little bit about this. As you can see, our flanges are CNC machined. Now, can you see that the O-ring will seat on here, okay? And what you want is that that gasket, not the O-ring, sorry, it's a gasket. That gasket will go all the way into the cylinder head, and then this whole surface area will make contact with the cylinder head. Now, the reason why we've got this relief cut out is for heat management. So this part of the manifold is not in contact with the cylinder head. You want the least amount of contact with the cylinder head, because this is sort of 900 degrees. You don't want, you know, a 900 degrees flange in contact with the cylinder head. So that's the theory behind it. If I can show you this cylinder head over here. Okay, and I'll show you one of. So this is an N53 head. It's very similar in design, except it's got bigger ports. So if you see here, when I push that in, can you see it's not flush? But what will happen is, when you're tightening your manifold, all right, this will crush. So this gasket is going to crush into this space in here and fill up all the gap. And our flange rings have been designed specifically so that that these gaskets will be crushed, and then the flange will be 100% flush to the block. All right, so just to show you that you know, these bolts are doable, although sometimes you might think they're not. If you look in there, all right, what we're doing here is we're going up, spinning the key, up, spinning the key. Now this is a slow process, but that's just the way it is. Spinning the key, and we just keep going round. All right. Most of the other bolts will be much easier than this, but it's just patience, taking it slow, spinning the key, bit by bit, we'll get there. Now, if you're using new copper nuts, they're going to be like a lock nut type of deal, so they're going to be stiff all the way down. They're not going to be able to like wind them on quick and then just do the last bit. So they're a lock nut. They take time. Just take your time, and you'll get them on. All right. So this is the front manifold on. None of the nuts can tighten anymore. And it's fully seated. If you see against there, it's fully seated. So that's the next step, is the rear manifold. Now we're installing the rear manifold next. The only one that you have to be careful of is this top corner nut, which you'll have to start the threads before you seat the manifold, but the rest of them all go in nicely. It's much quicker on the rear manifold. So this is completely tight down, everything's seated. So now we're going to put the third piece on. So once everything's seated correctly, the manifold should just go on straight away. So that's on pretty much spot on. We're going to put the clips on now, and so we're going to put one clip on this side, and then we're going to think about this wastegate first, and then this wastegate second. So we'll show you how that wastegate goes on just now. So this is how the clamp goes on, and the orientation is important because you don't want to put a clamp in a certain orientation that will interfere with the wastegate and the dump pipe later down the line. So as you can see around the back, let's get the torch. Around the back we've got clearance. We've got clearance, nothing's touching the water pipe, everything's clear, there's going to be no rattling. So what you want to do is snug down the nuts, but don't over tighten them. Give yourself some opportunity to wiggle things about later on before you do a final torque down. So this orientation that we're going in right now is what you want, because as you can see just here we've got the wastegate. So you want to be just about there. Okay. We have the wastegate installed now. So what you want to do is be installing the wastegate nearest to the block, which is actually for the rear bank. So this is bank 2 wastegate. We've got our boost lines here, which go to the top and the bottom port of the wastegate. The kit comes with these 3-way barbed fittings, stainless steel. Okay, this is silicone hose. I've never had a problem with it. A lot of people go full AN with this stuff. Actually, I think it can be more problematic. These are flexible. They're extremely heat resistant. I've had these on my car. I'm not even changing them. These are going back on my car. They've been on my car for like 10,000 miles. They look brand new. So I'd stick with something simple. So these, I've routed them in such a way, as you can see. So you've got, let's see if I can show it to you. Very difficult camera angles, but yeah, these come down and they go through there, all through the sort of water pump area, just above the water pump. And in the instructions I've got everything detailed, how to orientate and put the banjo fittings on. These banjo fittings all point in the right direction. So what you want to do is install this, most likely install the dump pipe, which will hug here and pop down back here. Once that's installed, then you can install the second wastegate and the other dump pipe, and then you're pretty much ready for the downpipe, but I'll show you that stage. The downpipe needs to go in through here, and that is before you put the engine mount. So the engine mounts are here. They're missing at the moment. You want a nice clean area to work. So you put your downpipe, you put your engine mount, the downpipe gets wedged in there, and then you can add the turbo later. So a little bit further on down the line, so we've got the dump pipe. My dump pipes are slightly different. I'm recirculating mine, so what you can do is when you receive your dump pipes from us, you can decide, just chop it, V-band, and get your exhaust shop to recirculate them, nice and simple. So now we've got the second wastegate. Second wastegate's loose there at the moment. What we're going to be doing is putting the engine support. Once the engine support's there, we'll be able to, well, let me back up a bit there. First of all, we're going to put the the downpipe, engine support, and then we're going to come in and put this dump pipe. Once you've put this dump pipe and the engine support and the downpipe, you're pretty much ready for your subframe. I've still got some buttoning up to do. We need to, so the included hose that I give you, the U-joint, goes from your water pipe to your water pump. And this hose here, we don't supply that. That's, you either use your existing one, or if you're changing your water pump, you know, get yourself a new hose, stuff like that, a bit of maintenance. So I'll be installing that, and then pretty much ready to button up the car. I mean, all right, so what we've got here is now we've got the engine support in and the downpipe loosely there. So what I've done is, from the last clip you saw that I had this dump pipe on. I actually put it on there so I could orientate this wastegate where I wanted it, and finally tight that fitting. Now, if you can see here, like I don't think I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. This fitting is square, all right, because this fitting has a bulky part here where the nut goes in, and then the other side of it, which is the hinge. All right, so if you orientate it in the wrong way, you can end up making contact with the manifold at the back here. So this way of orientating it, you can put the clip on, all right, you can reach to tighten it, and then everything works out much better that way. So just take your time to orientate it and square it off. Once you've found the position for your dump pipe, remove it so you can then install the downpipe. It's a bit of a tricky job to hold the downpipe up, install the engine support, but once the engine support's there, this downpipe can't go anywhere. You know, it's sort of wedged in there. I've got this wastegate on there as well, loosely, but we're gonna orientate that and fix that at one of the later stages. So at this point now, you're ready to sort of move on, put your dump pipes on, and carry on from there. All right, so next step is we've, like we said before, engine mounts on, downpipes in there loosely, and then we're adding the first screamer pipe. So we're going to add this one first. What we did is we kept everything loose, test fitted, so we're happy that everything's in the right orientation. As you can see here, it hugs, there's a gap, but it hugs very closely the engine. And we've got this squared to the flange so that we can put this on, and then the rear hinge of this is in an area where it's not impeding anything or close to anything. This you can pretty much orientate where you like. This is not going to bother anything. Next is we have this on, again it's loose, and we're going to test fit the, just offer it up, show to the wastegate the dump pipe, and then check to see, so they should come out together. If you're not recirculating, the ones we send you come out together about here, just in the, where there's a cutout. It's about they're about here actually. There's a cutout in the bottom tray. We have designed the kit so you don't have to. The car stays 100% OEM, so you still have a tray and everything if you're going to run the tray. So keep it loose, offer it up, find your fitment, and we'll show you that stage next. All right, so now we have this tightened up, and again we've squared off the V-band with the thing. Now, you could have done it this side or that side, it doesn't really matter, but when it's square, because here, if for right-hand drive people anyway, what we have is we have these pipes very close to the area. So if you had this clamp here, sorry, if you had this here, you would foul these pipes. So keeping everything out of the way, nice up, high. I've just put them together, makes tightening them up nice and easy. See the orientation of this one I can actually come in from here and put a key if I need to retighten it or do whatever I want. So I've got access to this as well. Okay, so moving on. Now we've got the screamers. This is still loose. So these are my screamers. They're going to go straight onto the exhaust with some small flex joints. At this stage, I'm just going to put my my hose on, put the turbo on, hook up all my lines, and before I put the subframe on, I'm going to pressure test the water system. If you're feeling confident, put some coolant in it. Otherwise, just fill it only with water. If you do find a leak, you just chuck a whole bunch of water away instead of expensive coolant. So that's the next stage. All right, so with some of the heat wrap that we supply to you, wrap this one. I've actually ran the car without this wrapped, but you know, I didn't have an issue, but I would recommend wrapping it, depending on how you're going to drive your car, if you're going to put it on track and stuff like that. So wrap this. This is it looks closer than it would normally because this is quite a thick layer on top of this, but with this tape you're covered. If you can see up in here, now everything's tucked away really neatly. It's tight packaging in there, but everything fits perfectly. So now it's a case of pressure testing the system. I'll put the turbo on first, pressure test the system, and move to the next step. So got the downpipe wrapped. It's in place. All the wastegates are lined up. All the clearance is good. And double check everything. Make sure you've tightened everything. Mark what you've tightened. Once you've torqued it, just work methodically, and your installation will go perfect. All right, so back at the top here, what I've done is I've routed this pipe. Now this pipe actually is for the JMC 900 kits, where the smaller turbos go on, and they're set further back so you can run a proper filter on the system. The way these work is you've got to sort of screw it in, so it's twisted. It's like a snake, but it's spiraled. And sort of you put it under your oil lines, and then you sort of fish it down and then twist it as you put it, and then it'll find its place. So I've got it all the way down in there now. Let's see if I can show you. So it's all the way in there. There we go. So it's in there. All right. So now we've put the lines on loosely. So the water line is there. The other water line is here, and we've got the oil feed coming from the top, going across, staying high above this line to keep it out of the way from the manifold. Because once I tighten this one, I can tighten it in a certain position where it's kicking away from the manifold, and it's sort of putting this away from the manifold. The only thing now is the oil line. Oil line has to go in at this point after you've put this, because this is the first time I'm installing the new oil line system with the kit, so obviously it's a bit of a discovery process for me as well. But here, the way I see it is we've got the dash 10 fitting just there. Okay, we're going to do a 90 from there, and we're going to go sort of through here. We want to go like down on a downhill trajectory to this fitting here, like we've discussed before. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, it's just there. There you go, that fitting there. So what I'm going to do now is I've got this one that I shortened. I'm going to attempt to install it now, but I'm not sure if I've made this too short. So once I've got it installed, I'll measure everything and make sure it's all done. Okay, so I've figured out the best way to do this. The oil line that I originally came up with is good. It works. It's just about getting the routing correct. All right, so as you can see, I've got the turbine, the compressor off. I've got the center sort of a bit loose, so I can orientate this this line the way I want it. I've got that through, and it routes through there. There's actually a gap there. You'll see it, but you've got to do it after you've installed this. If you install the line and try and install this, I think I haven't tried to do it in that order, but no, I did try to do it in that order, and I was having trouble. So I sort of went for installing this first, so I can find the best route. Being it the first time I'm doing it, I'm sort of discovering as I go. So maybe if you install this, you can install that. So I'm just going to show you how I did it, and that should help you. What I've done is I've put some vice grips on here, and I've nipped up that fitting as well. So that's that. So that line now, that's the oil drain. I'm happy with that. I'm happy. It's on a constant downhill trajectory, which is what you want. It goes underneath this air conditioning line. There's a sort of a gap there, and it's good. So I'm going to button everything up, and I'll show you when it's buttoned up what it looks like. All right, so the car's back together. Everything's working as it should. What I did is, on the high side, I just used the factory flapper to the high side, and on the low side the new oil drain seems to be doing its job. Can't really see it. It's too tightly packed.